important reminder. All information and ideas are for informational purposes only and are in no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. Earthshift Products, Dr. Robert Cassar, all of their partners, affiliates, and subsidiaries will not be held accountable for the use or misuse of the information presented therein. This information is not intended as medical advice. The authors, publishers, and speakers of this work are not medical doctors and do not recommend the use of mineral-deficient foods, drugs, or medicines to achieve beauty and to alleviate health challenges. Because there is always some risk involved, all persons involved with the development and distribution of this information are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences of any kind resulting from the use or misuse of any suggestions or procedures described on our website or Earthshift Live radio talk show or therein.
Where do you fit into the health versus sickness paradigm? And you may say, well, I'm healthy. Well, and then again you may say, I'm sick. But where do you really fit in the paradigm? Now, we know there's a different set of layers of the sickness of we actually really don't even know we have. Remember, there are 75 million diabetics in this country, 75 million. We have about 82.5 million people right now that are 30% plus overweight, or as I would say, toxic. You've got yourself 1 out of 50 children that have autism. Wait a minute, something's wrong. You've got yourself 50 million people that are on some form of antidepressant. So, you know, we really have a level of sickness sometimes we really don't even understand and know. Sometimes we really think we're healthy, but in fact we've never been healthy. So once you actually see that there's actually a choice to take, then you would really want to say, I want to see how it is to feel healthy. Or maybe you may want to see how it is to feel sick. So let's go over a few things right now. Now, have you ever heard of called the SAD diet? The SAD diet is 80% of the population of the United States. Now, the SAD diet stands for Standard American Diet. Standard American Diet, wow. So if we've got the Standard American Diet, which is about 80% of the whole population, then what do you think we're going to do? Let's take the Healthy Lifestyle Evaluation. And what's that about? The Healthy Lifestyle Evaluation. Now, let's look and see where we fit into this, what we call healthy or sick paradigm. Because we know that there's a big sick paradigm here. You've got 80% of the population in the United States, that's 300 million people that live in the United States. 80% of that population has some form of sickness. Well, we can just call obesity a sickness, can't you? Because 15 pounds plus overweight is 80% of the population. That's 15 pounds plus toxic, or 15 pounds of critters on your body, or 15 pounds of passengers realistically you didn't know you have. We'll get into what body fat is, what parasites are, and what all these other things that we really don't understand, because it's got to really make reasonable and logical sense. And if it doesn't, then you're not going to really buy into this. But oh, you will not buy into this. You'll see the reasonable and logical ideas, concepts, and disciplines that others have done, and they have changed their lives massively. So let's take the Healthy Lifestyle Evaluation. And what is that? Well, what we want to do is actually have you evaluate where you're at in your transition. No matter if you like it or not, every day is a transition. You either transit in a neutral motion, where you've done enough things maybe in your life that day to be able to neutralize all the poisons, the chemicals, the synthetics, and all the things that your body had to figure out what to do with. Maybe you wash them out, maybe you use certain detoxificational methods, but then again, maybe you didn't. So let's say on the other hand, this day is a toxic day. And a toxic day would mean that maybe, well, you accumulated different types of heavy metals, plastics, or your body had a lot of frustration today and your body's cortisol went off the map, meaning that your frustration level, anger, just this energy inside your body we call emotions. And remember, emotions are 80% of your energy. So if you're in control of your emotions, well, maybe you might actually feel in control of your energy. So getting back to, remember, toxicity. Toxicity has to do with, that's where we're going over this evaluation, because where you are in toxicity land, we call it, is where your body's vibration and your mind's is this frequency that we hold. And when we actually figure out that there's a combination of things in us that actually gives us health or gives us sickness. Let's go over some levels of well, what most people in the United States are doing. So 80% of the population, remember, is eating the standard American diet. And that's everything and everything that you see at the store that looks good, tastes good, and maybe even a deal. That's why sometimes you get it. The standard American diet's all the fast foods, everything that, well, when you go to the store, that's most of it. Genetically modified foods, the standard American diet is packaged in whatever. The standard American diet, well, is what it stands for. Standard American Diet, SAD. So let's say that 80% of all the diseases that we can talk about come from this group. And this group, of course, is really volunteering to, well, sort of poison themselves once they find out the information that fast foods really aren't too good for you, because they're not really even foods. They're sort of like plastic foods. They're chemical foods. They're synthetic foods. Or they're foods that are called sort of like unnatural foods, if you just want to be nice to them. Or they're just unnatural foods if you really want to look at it from a pure perspective of, remember, you want to become a naturalist. Of course, a naturalist is a person who eats natural things, or things that are unprocessed, that have not been, well, I say perverted or manipulated, scientifically, genetically modified, or one of these, as you would say, scientific discoveries on how to produce more sometimes is not as good as you think. You know, the real reason why we put together Earthshift products and Earthshift Project is because, well, if you really want to jump forward in this, I call it a game, because really every day is a new day, and you are the producer and the director of your own film. So if that's true and you are star of your own movie every day, then I know that you would want to be able to play the game that we've, as a group here, have designed, and we call it the optimizing lifestyle. The optimizing lifestyle, or this naturalistic lifestyle, or the lifestyle that you would really, well, you would thrive in. Eating non-contaminated foods. I mean, that was the biggest thing, was actually finding non-contaminated foods is really the big problem on the planet right now. Where do you find foods that haven't been contaminated? Not only even maybe contaminated with, well, chemicals, synthetics, and or maybe just certain fertilizers that would be synthetic fertilizers. So where do you get uncontaminated foods from? Well, uncontaminated foods, like I said, are one thing. How about non-genetically modified foods? How about foods that are packaged in non-bisphenol A, which is a hardener, it's a plastic hardener, and it's been outlawed in many countries in Europe. Canada just outlawed this, and it's found to actually had a lot of problems with sickness, clogging up the lymph glands, clogging up the body, a plasticizer as they would call it. So where do you get foods that really don't follow under the traditional, well, what you'd say supermarket stores? Now, let's get into sea vegetables. What are they? Well, I found out that sea vegetables are the mostly highly regenerative thing that I can, as if I wanted to tell a patient and or someone, I'm into regeneration or longevity, what would I do? Well, that's why Earthshift has really come together. Earthshift is a accumulation of hundreds of different types of products that help us in our transitional lifestyle movements. And we have to know that our transition right now is necessary. If not, then a lot of times you really don't know if you're practicing maybe the lifestyle you should, because maybe you haven't awakened enough to find out that your lifestyle is causing you to get sick. Your lifestyle is maybe not just even the food you eat, but maybe it's the job you have because you're frustrated all day long. Or maybe it's because maybe you have a cell phone up to your head all day, or as I like to call it, a cell phone transmitter, or a microwave One of the major, really hidden, invisible problems in food and drinks is the plastic and or the packaging. It's a big problem. Everybody uses plastic all day long. You're using plastic in a variety of things, and I'm really talking about in everything. Your cell phone's plastic, your television's plastic. The carpet I'm standing on is polyester, let's say. Maybe your clothes are made out of rayon and so forth. These are all made out of synthetic types of things. And the body, of course, doesn't really like synthetic things. It doesn't like chemicals. It doesn't like additives. It doesn't like these things. Because what it does is it can't break them down. We call these types of ideas inorganic. And we always hear about organic. So to me, see, we want to eat as organic. And organic to me means your body can functionally break down everything without residue. The type of foods that we want to eat are foods that have high vibration, that have foods that have a minimal or no contamination, which is very hard to find on this planet. Foods that are stored and packaged in, well, what you would call containers that would be either reusable or containers that are food grade proof. It means that they won't leach. The foods won't leach into the bags. So that's a #1 problem right now. And all of our packaging we have at Earthshift is in bisphenol A free packaging. It's either reusable or it's food grade at best. Now a lot of the small snacks we have, you rip those off, it's a cellulose such and such, and you throw those out. But the bigger packages we have, remember, we're bulk sales also. Now you got to remember, really, what is Earthshift? Earthshift's like the Superfoods at Costco. I mean, we don't sell small little supplies where you come every week. Well, no. What you do is you figure out really what you would use for the month, and you would purchase this in advance. I personally use about 75% of everything from Earthshift that's on there, and that's one of the reasons why Earthshift, well, has a lot of these products, is because that's what we eat. And so, where do we get these foods? They're not easy to find. The problem is well, let's see. Our maca comes from Peru, our chocolate comes from Ecuador. Let's see, maybe some of the other products come from China, another product comes from maybe another part of the world. Where are you going to find the best of the best of the best foods? Well, and just because you find maca or you find cacao doesn't mean what you're buying is going to be quality. Oh, I found out cacao's good for me. Well, that's great. Now you're going to have to be a researcher, well, explorer, and an experimenter, because you're going to have to go out and purchase and see what you feel is the best. Not only remember is it the best, but how much did it cost?